So I had a few requests for a instrument sharpening video, which I actually have placed on separately, just the video of sharpening. But I figured that some people might want a little bit more information. If you haven't sharpened for a really long time, or you just want a little bit of a review, this gives you a little more information. So let's go forward with this. All right, the sources that I'm using mostly for this, I've gotten a little bit from dental hygiene clinical textbooks, but the majority of it is from the Hugh Freedy, It's Time for Sharpening. It's about time sharpening video. And there's a link here as well to that video. So feel free to go through that. It's just going to be a little bit longer than this, but that's where I got a lot of the information. So I just want you to understand, and I know you probably know, that's why you're listening, but the benefits of sharpening, distinguish when an instrument needs to be sharpened, identify the stone that you will use, the grasp, and then be able to demonstrate the way that you're going to sharpen. So why do we sharpen? Just quick review: reduces operator fatigue, improved deposit removal, saves time, improves tactile sensitivity, and minimizes patient discomfort. I wanted to make the point, I was asked to temp in an office that actually, I got to the office and I had 28 patients on my schedule. And the first thing I did is I sat down and just started sharpening like crazy. And someone from the office came in and asked me what I was doing. And I said, if I have 28 patients, the only way I can make it through this day is if I have sharp instruments. Some of my students will say, I didn't have time to sharpen. And I say, you never don't have time to sharpen. If you are in a hurry, the best thing you can do is have sharp instruments. And by the way, I didn't go back to that 28 patient office, just FYI. Having sharp instruments helps patient discomfort as well, to make them more comfortable. So here's a bunch of different sharpening stones. I'm just letting you know the one I really love lately is the Hugh Freedy Dual Grit ceramic. It's white on one side, blue on the other. White is a little bit less abrasive, blue is more abrasive. If I can't get a good edge with the white, I flip it around to the blue and I can get an edge. A little bit more abrasive would be their sharpening card, which is a diamond sharpening card. More familiar maybe might be the ceramic stone and the Arkansas stone. All of the stones that I'm recommending is that you use the ones without oil, because I like to have a stone that I can use when my instruments are sterile. With the oil, you have to send them through a cycle. And I like to sharpen my instruments after they've been sterilized. So to tell if the instrument is sharp, I like these little sharpening sticks that you can get from Hugh Freedy. You could use a saliva ejector or a evacuator tip. I do think that these are a little bit harder, the sharpening stick, and it's more apt to grab it. So when you test it, it grabs right on, clicks right on. If it's sharp, if it skids across or kind of stutters, then you know you need to sharpen. Now, the grasp that you use, I like to use a modified pen grasp. I take the instrument in my non-dominant hand, and then you can use like a fist grasp if you prefer. Then I take the stone with my middle finger on the bottom part of the stone, my thumb on the top, and my index finger in the middle to apply pressure. It's important that you understand the anatomy of an instrument. We have a bunch of, our shank is from the, all of the wiggles, we'll call it that, right? And our terminal shank is the bottom angle. And then, of course, we have our working end. So really important that you understand the terminal shank because it's going to be perpendicular to the floor. So you're going to angle your instrument no matter what one you're using, whether it's a universal or a site-specific. You're going to make that terminal shank perpendicular to the floor with a very slight adjustment for the site-specific. We'll get to that in a second. And then also to be aware of if you have a pointed toe, which is your sickle scalers, or if you have a rounded toe. So you know if you're going to sharpen around the toe or just off the toe. So we're going to sharpen the whole blade, heel to toe. We're starting at the back of the instrument, going all the way to the working end. You don't want to start midway or you'll make a weak part in that instrument, which we don't want to do. We don't want to have instruments breaking. Again, the scaler has a pointed tip where curette has the rounded toe. So when you're sharpening, you go off the end of a scaler, and with a rounded toe, you're going to go around the toe. So here's all the information that you need. If you want to, you can pause this slide and just read through it. Again, you're going to make that terminal shank so it's perpendicular to the floor. And I do it on the edge of a table. In 2 slides, you'll see I've got a video of how I do it. And then I take my stone and you put it at 3 past the hour or 3 before the hour, depending on which side of the instrument you're sharpening. On our universal, of course, it's got 2 blades sharpening both sides. Depending on if it's a posterior universal, you're going to have to offset offset the handle so that the terminal shank is perpendicular. If it's more like an anterior, say a sickle universal, then you're going to hold it straight up and down, like in the 12 o'clock position. And the handle and the shank is all going to be perpendicular. Whereas the picture provided here, you have to offset it so that terminal shank is perpendicular to the floor. So site specific, the difference with that is you're going to have your terminal shank, you're going to put it perpendicular to the floor, and then you're going to offset it just enough to make that, so you know on your site specific, the blade is tipped this way or this way, right? So when you go to sharpen it, when you put your terminal shank, so it's perpendicular to the floor, the blade is going to be like this. So in order to get it at the right angle, you just want to flatten that blade out. So you're going to make it parallel. Like the picture showing, that blade is parallel to the floor. And then you can still get your 3 minutes before, 3 minutes after. So I don't want you to spend a lot of time like memorizing angles, and maybe you can, but that just never worked for my head. If you just keep in mind that you always want that terminal shank perpendicular to the floor. If it's a curette, well, so your face is always parallel to the floor. So perpendicular for the terminal shank, face parallel. So if it's a universal, that's easy because the face is always at that 90-degree angle to the blade. So it's always going to be flat. The only one you have to adjust is on your site specific. So you just have to bring that offset blade parallel. And then you can still do the 3 minutes before, 3 minutes after. So I think, I don't know, the way that I was taught in school, it just seemed really confusing to me. I think it's so much easier to hold your instrument still and move your stone. You're going to be so much more, let's see, what should I say? Like you'll be consistent all along with the amount, with your angle. When you're trying to get the angle and you're moving the instrument, it's so easy to tip that handle just a little bit or a little bit more. And so you're just not getting a consistent angle at your blade. Whereas if you hold your instrument still and you're moving your stone, it's just easier to watch that relationship so that it stays consistent all the way through. So I hope that makes sense. If you have questions, feel free to ask me. Now you can go ahead and play this video. And I know it goes pretty fast, but I think if you've had the experience trying to sharpen, hopefully this will make it a little more simple. Thankfully, I'm going to thank Patty, who taught me this years and years ago, one of the first offices I ever worked in, and she was an instructor at a dental hygiene program. She sharpened all of our instruments every time we used them, just got me into the habit. I got really fast at it, and I hope that this helps you too as well, especially amongst this COVID time when not many of us are using ultrasonics. So important that our instruments are sharp. So happy sharpening. Hope this helps, and have a great day.